to know how different each one of our students is. We have a lot from different countries, different cultural backgrounds, different educational, different professional. And so they've worked very, very hard, I have to say, to write, or I would say to develop or weave a common story with many voices. So I would like to just take the opportunity very quickly, starting from the top left and reading across, to introduce the students individually. There they are, beautiful collective, but let's individually. So on the top left is Raul Greter, then Eleonora Riso, Sarah Geyer, Aliyah Devey, Aliyah Dismay, and Henri Seville, Michael Garland, Sarah Dupenlew, Tina Carme, Manushka Polimon, James Pizarro, Natalia Pinkney, Denise Rotondo, Logan Good, Calissa Anderson, Aaron Nichols, and Helena Sarconi. So next.
Okay.
So the next slide, so I can give the ground rules, I think. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, please mute yourself. I will do the same for the duration of the presentation. Write any questions or comments that you want in the Zoom chat. Questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. And also, it's recommended that you select side-by-side speaker mode to best follow the flow of the presentation. So thank you to the MSIM students. Happy University Day to all, and I'm turning it over to Michael Garland.
Thank you, Dr. Young. It is my pleasure then to introduce our project. Once I get the title slide. We will be presenting, I'm going to go ahead and start it. We'll be presenting a journey from chaos to interconnectivity, leadership strategies for a changing planet. And I'm going to give you the overall structure of the presentation. We're going to start with a reintroduction to what our home means to our cohort and how that is impacted by a changing planet. And then we will move on to our leadership journey, where we discuss some strategies of responsible management and responsible leadership that we've learned, following and concluding with our vision, where we select some of our projects that we've worked on this past year that we think we want to work towards in the future. And so now I will invite Tina to go ahead and start the journey for us.
Thank you, Michael. So all of you, imagine this. You walk out your front door. You take a deep breath of fresh air. Enjoy it and feel it. You start your walk outside and you feel the sun shining on your face. You're off to meet some friends with whom you share a dream of working on a global company and feel the sense of purpose as your values are aligned. You see the value they generate and the impact they have and could have on the world and our welfare. You feel a sense of belonging when thinking of the upcoming discussions of inspiration with your peers. As you walk, you are reminded of the possibility that working for a global company could require you to relocate. You take a deep breath again. Your thoughts shift towards wondering, will the air be there as pure as it is here? Will you hear birds sing? Suddenly you feel a bit worried. Will it feel like home? You wanted to have an international experience. After all, we need to be able to work across borders, to explore different countries, different homes. But at what cost? Will you fit in? Will people feel the same way as you do? Is it desirable to want to work for a global company? Do you dare to speak of your dreams? Will they be accepted? Will I be accepted? Will my dreams still be my dreams? Or is there an illusion that threatens to scatter into pieces? Then your emotions shift. You start to feel anxious. Where can I find the information? What will this be like? Is it possible that my actions with good intentions could be negatively affected somewhere else? How do I know? Can I trust what I read or find? Now, all of you, Take a deep breath, almost like it would be the last breath of fresh air. Listen to the birds, to the sound of the wind in the trees. Feel the unease pile up inside you. If we have, we'll soon be lost. If dreams are illusions that will be scattered as we explore our home. Now you're ready for the MSIM journey from chaos to interconnectivity, where we harness these worries, face them head on in our leadership challenge, and transform them into tools for our changing planet. By addressing these threats that challenges our notion of home and responsible leadership through 3 dimensions, social, economic, and environmental, we identify solutions that lie in our digital transformation and climate action. So, fasten your seatbelt, because here we go.
When we think of home, each of us associates this word with different dimensions, sensations, emotions, objects, and visions. Home is not only made of rooms. It is not only the place where you sleep, or where you gather with your family, or where you have lunch. Home crosses intergenerational and intercultural boundaries, and is shared by different species that have found a way to live in a balanced way on this planet. Looking at different dimensions of home, we can see how it encompasses all life on our planet and the challenges they face within the house, city, country, planet, outer space. In this journey, our goal is to take you on an exploration of the 3 pillars of sustainability: social, economic, and environmental, that define and tell the story of the development and survival of all life that exists on the planet and how it is changing. We start with a focus on digital transformation, followed by a look at the economic dimension, more precisely to the donut economic model. And finally, we end with some reflections on climate change.
Living in the age of globalization means that we face a complex social climate in which problems expand beyond a specific country's limits, but are shared across the planet. The social dimension of life on our planet represents deeply human issues in which cultural and generational differences play a major role. These complex social dynamics need to be aligned to help global citizens come together through a collaborative mindset and a safe environment for communication. The following 4 examples are a snapshot of the social challenges we face today. The first challenge is the aging population. It is estimated that by the year 2050, the world's population aged 60 and older is expected to be a total of 2 billion people. The second challenge is human trafficking. Each year, an estimated 600,000 to 800,000 men, women, and children are trafficked across international borders, and the trade is growing. The third challenge is ethnic minority discrimination. A recent example is the 380 hate crimes targeted at the Asian community in the United States during the past year. And the fourth challenge is domestic abuse. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience physical violence by their intimate partner at some point during their lifetimes. Now, digitalization and new technologies offer us an opportunity to develop tools, systems, and strategies to mitigate these issues. Today, we are able to share information and glimpse into the lives of people across the world with the touch of a screen. And we must harness this opportunity to reshape social relations. This is where sharing and understanding of new perspectives and on social issues across generational and cultural dimensions comes into play. Building a social landscape founded on collaboration and psychological safety for communication would prepare future generations for tackling deeply rooted social issues. We believe that a sustainable world's social dimension should promote emotional intelligence, empathy, and civic education. This is the only way to truly value, protect, and celebrate our differences and our rich cultural diversity as a step in shaping our vision of a sustainable world.
The second important step in shaping our vision of a sustainable world is founded in the economic dimension. Our home is connected to certain attributes. One of the very basic attributes is to have enough food. Currently, we are putting the source of food in massive danger. The source of our food is the planet. The planet is an interconnected system that depends on a few elements, but we can influence them. So let me introduce you to these elements. This is the donut economics model. On the outside of the circle, you see the planetary boundaries, meaning the ecological limits. On the inside of the circle, you see the social boundaries. We have to make sure to stay within the sweet spot of the donut, which looks like a donut, where we don't overshoot the ecological ceiling and shortfall the social foundation. If we have a look at the social foundation of food, the key measurement is how many people are undernourished. Currently, 11% of the global population is undernourished. So let me give you some examples of challenges we are facing. We produce enough food to nourish 10 billion people daily, but more than 1 billion people are suffering from hunger. Secondly, to make higher profits, some global companies cut costs wherever they can. This leads to overcrowded, unethical farm operations requiring the use of massive doses of antibiotics and hormones. This results in air and water pollution that contribute to environmental and public health issues. By proceeding like this, companies create higher profits, but they are also creating issues within the society that we as citizens are paying for with our taxes. 35% of crops planted are to feed livestock. In other words, to feed animals to produce meat. This land and its crops could be directly used to feed people. This would reduce the CO2 emissions, deforestation, and improve biodiversity. To face these issues, we have to change the mindset of endless growth, as our resources on this planet are limited. To actually be sustainable, each of us must answer for themselves, when is enough enough? To reach this mindset, we have to take leadership and think about the context and the bigger picture we are affecting with our daily choices in our work and lives. Only like this, we can nurture what nurtures us and create systems that are regenerative and distributive.
You see that pale blue dot? That's us. Everything that has ever happened in all of human history has happened on that pixel. All the triumphs and all the tragedies, all the wars and all the famines, all the major advances. It's our only home. And that is what is at stake, our ability to live on planet Earth, to have a future as a civilization. I believe this is a moral issue. It is the time to seize the issue. It is our time to rise again to secure our future. From Al Gore in An Inconvenient Truth. So as we're aware, our home encompasses billions of organisms, systems, and processes, all that coexist and contribute to that tiny blue dot. As Gore highlights, our inability to speak up, to act, and to change human processes is only hurting ourselves, our future civilization. However, behind this anthropogenic standpoint sits the real inconvenient truth, which is that all the triumphs and all the tragedies and humans' lack of ethical practices are first harming the natural organisms, systems, and processes that allow us to have this life we know. In April 2010, 4.9 million barrels of oil spilled into the Gulf of Mexico from the BP-operated petroleum platform. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill has had long-term effects on marine and terrestrial life, from increased cardiotoxicity found in animals exposed to the spill, to beaches previously home to birds and mammals embedded with oil. So that tuna you ate a few nights ago, that toxicity bioaccumulates as it moves up the food chain, and you are at the top. Therefore, BP's lack of safety systems and inability to fix defective cement, all from the lack of industry practices, government policies, and simple cost-cutting decisions, directly harm our tiny blue dot, all of its natural processes and organisms, and the ability to live on planet Earth. In addition, the fashion industry accounts for 10% of global carbon emissions and 20% wastewater. The human-made model of results with a low cost has given rise to harmful business practices rooted in a lack of quality control, massive resource use, from water to land space for landfills, to monocultural agriculture for cotton and other crops. Again, these harmful business practices have planetary and long-lasting repercussions, many of which we are already experiencing today. So, as Gore highlights, it may be a moral issue, but it's our issue. So what will we do about it?
Now that we have seen the complex dynamics that challenge the social, economic, environmental pillars of sustainability, we can outline behavioral, technological, and systemic opportunities to create meaningful and lasting change for future generations. However, we will have to contribute to this journey to manifest our vision of a sustainable world. Come with us as we share some fundamental elements of our responsible leadership journey.
So here you, we, and all of us are, with all of these emotions, visions, and objectives. Do you see the rooms, the city, your country, our planet? Do you see through the lens of these dimensions, social, economic, and environment? Can you sense the social aspect beyond your city and country? Can you sense it beyond all people and all into all living beings? What do you see? Do you see it clearly? Are there other people around you, or are you alone? Are you worried, or are you inspired and excited? Or do you feel confused? We can tell you what we see. We can't always look to the past for solutions, but must also look into innovations for new futures. We see people fragmented in various categories. We see wealthy business, fancy houses, but also poverty beyond imagination. We see people who have it all and people who have nothing. We see stock markets rising and showing signs of wealth, and stock markets crashing, causing despair and chaos. We see pollution, but untouched nature. We see blue oceans, but also oceans with oil spills. So what do we do about all this? How do we navigate it? Now, sit up straight in your chair, or actually even better, stand up. Take a step forward. Take charge. You can and you will change the world. All of us together. Begin your journey in leading the way, and we will give you the tools to get started today. Now, let us show you some of the methodologies and ways of working to get you started on your journey as a leader navigating from chaos into interconnectivity.
What does it mean to be a responsible leader? What skills do we need to execute responsible leadership? And what tools can help us to reflect on our behavior? In this section, we will explore different aspects of responsible leadership. We will talk about the relevant skill set we need and look at how we can overcome social, economic, and environmental challenges through change. Change that is necessary in order to move towards a sustainable world. Starting with the social pillar of sustainability, we identified two elements that are key as drivers for change.
Communication and collaborative mindsets are two of the base components to build an inclusive and empathetic society. In order to make connections through intergenerational, intercultural means, empathy, acknowledgement of differences, and an understanding of various values is a necessity. Cohesive, comprehensive, and careful communication facilitate true collaboration. Globally, communication comes in many forms and changes based on cultural, academic, or professional backgrounds. Developing strong partnerships and personal relationships requires a certain level of transparency and trust. In order to enable meaningful change, communication must be rooted in empathy. With sensitive social topics such as domestic violence, human trafficking, ethnic minority discrimination, and the aging population, empathetic communication is a necessary skill that requires practice and understanding. In the context of leadership, effective communication and a collaborative mindset facilitates interdisciplinary opportunities. Being a leader is more than just a title. Leadership requires the ability to effectively translate information across various systems and cultures. Communication is not just relaying information, but also receiving it. Both elements require practice and patience. Open, honest, and constructive communication should be present in all levels and phases of work. This highlights the importance of communication grounded in empathy and trust. Reflection is a tool that can be used to identify challenges and improvements in a project, and clear communication is key to relaying these insights. In tandem, a true collaborative mindset can facilitate the meaningful exploration of these reflections, leading us into the level of leadership that evolves past the individual perspective.
As we saw in the picture depicted by our home section, responsibility and sustainability are not yet considered in the functional business and to wider economy. However, to grow within the planetary boundaries, they should be part of our DNA, and every decision we take and actions we make must be funded around those two themes. To ensure we are building around responsibility and sustainability, we need to connect our choices to a three-dimensional tool, the I, we, all of us. This tool will help the leader in you to take a step back and look at the bigger picture by realizing the externalities and full impact of your decisions. The I level will help us to explore and uncover areas of personal relevance. The we level will help us to understand the complexity of the topic, explore different interests, and the perspective of the relevant stakeholders in order to make informed and fair decisions. The all of us level will help us to identify the systemic dynamics and explore interconnections between industries and goals. This model highlights that all levels are nested into one into the other. The I is part of something bigger, and through its everyday decision has an impact at the systemic level. Through this concept, leaders are empowered to understand the environment from the personal level to a wider collective, enabling them to make responsible, informed decisions.
As it is understandably hard to visualize the consequences of our actions on a large scale, ethical management is a good way to think about local responsible leadership for a global effect. Responsible management implies to act ethically, but as we are in a globalized world, our actions here and today will have repercussions tomorrow and elsewhere. And if picturing the after effects of our actions on others is hard, try to think about the fact that this tomorrow is not anymore our children or our grandchildren, but rather ourselves. An idea that responsible leaders can use when considering their actions is what we call the golden rule, that says, treat the others as you want to be treated. The golden rule not only considers how to treat others, but also how to treat the environment. It is essential that leaders consider the impact of their decisions on the environment and on communities, and consider how they would like it to be for them or their relatives. A second aspect to ethical management is transparent reporting. It ensures that all parties and levels of a system are aware of a business impact and holds the company accountable for its actions. By addressing the consequences of their activity, responsible leaders highlight the possible action points on which they can have an influence, but also give the opportunity for others to use these existing reports to change and shift behavior.
We have now learned about several aspects of responsible leadership. We first looked at the social pillar and heard about the importance of a collaborative mindset and transparent communication to build meaningful connections at an individual level. We then talked about the economic pillar and the relevance to understand the context. Here, we learned about the three-dimensional tool, the I, we, and all of us, which helps us to look at the bigger picture and create awareness for the impact of our decisions. And finally, we explored the environmental pillar on a macro level and highlighted the importance of ethical decision-making, critical thinking, and lifelong learning. So why is this all important? To build a sustainable world that meets the needs of the present without limiting future generations in meeting their own needs, we need to change our status quo. And change requires responsible leadership that includes empathy, transparency, and collaboration.
So do you still stand tall? Did you take notes? Is the anxiety you felt at the start turning into a feeling that you need to do something and you will do something? Something, but what? When you think about the communication opportunities that have and will create collaboration, do you think of inclusion and trust? Trust. Do you feel trust? Have you been able to create trust? You start self-reflecting and become self-aware. Do you still feel proud? Are you still standing tall? Do you feel empowered? Or maybe critical towards yourself? Take a moment. Think. Be honest. It's, after all, only you. Or is it? Are there peers with you? Or do you feel included in something bigger? Maybe a larger group, or maybe a system, maybe even the world. Is this the first time you've ever thought of your role in all of this? Take an honest inventory of yourself and your actions and your opportunities. Yes, you heard right, opportunities, unlimited possibilities, different actions, different things you can do. You just received these amazing insights on leadership. You feel yourself growing into a responsible leader. The golden rule is indeed a natural part of you. And the golden rule expanding beyond people, towards planet, the whole system around you, to all of us. Simple, right? Why haven't you done this before? Why aren't all of us doing this? Is anyone doing this? Now that we have equipped ourselves with these leadership skills, what more could we use? Are you starting to look for options and solutions? Skills, digitalization, sustainability are all great opportunities to solve challenges related to our home. You feel the need to get going, to get started, as you embrace your journey to becoming the unique and best version of yourself. Let us show you some signs of inspiration. We can show you real-life cases on how the world is changing to take action and to do the turn around so that what is needed to shake away the anxiety you felt at the start. Let us present 3 projects to give you a snapshot of our vision of a sustainable world.
When we think sustainability, we imagine a world where our social interactions will be impacted, where our economic world would be different, and where our environment would be altered, all for the better. Our Master of Science in International Management cohort here at Franklin University has a vision for a sustainable world, but as Nelson Mandela so wisely remarked, vision without action is just a dream. A vision with action can change the world. Let's take a look at 3 of the many projects members of our cohort have been involved in to see through our vision of a sustainable world.
As for addressing the social issues occurring in our shared home today, we use the example of the Immersia Empathy Project as a vision for a future where technology can raise awareness about complexities within societies and promotes human connectivity. We therefore look to the use of technology, which enables a collaborative mindset inclusive of all generations and cultures. The Emerja project looks to increase awareness and use of cognitive empathy in participants through multisensory immersive environments. By bringing to life stories of global social issues such as international minorities treatment, domestic abuse, human trafficking, and positive aging. We designed a safe, multicultural, intergenerational experience using objects and technologies to create visual, tactile, and auditory interactive experiences. The project is comprised of 4 components: an immersive experience, an empathy guide, a digital platform, and multisensory experience. Our cohort strongly believes that responsible leadership skills of a collaborative mindset and clear communication are key to successfully helping this come to fruition. With a collaborative mindset, we can bridge the gaps between disciplines that are not often correlated, yet are affected by one another. By using clear communication, we enable a psychologically safe environment, which is needed for diverse societies to thrive within our shared home.
As previously mentioned, the donut economics model requires that ecological limits can no longer be surpassed while we aim to address our societal needs. Therefore, we look to a regenerative planet PANAMA project. We created with a strategic plan and reach with programs that could be implemented at the city level and provide a clear view on how to raise employment and reduce poverty, while we still remaining within our planetary boundaries. The project is created using 3 main pillars: economic inequalities, social equity and human health, environmental health. It creates not only a green economy, but also shares an economic model that could be a successful example for all Latin America. To reduce economic and social inequalities, we propose activities to empower women and create new jobs opportunities. In this project, we applied the I, we, and all of us model to analyze relationships across systemic levels and develop solutions. Concrete examples are: to build a workshop, we suggested a food forest for citizens to collaborate with Panama City. By paying the farmers, we support the local economy, and by providing women and girls with programs such as shared garden or opportunities to learn how to properly grow, tend to, and cook food as presented. Another element of this proposal was based around new business programs in which companies develop self-leadership and resiliency programs. Sharing an economic model, a sense of unity among cities. Another key area of the circular economy model proposed in this project for Panama City was technology. Investing in technology such as hydroponic system will reduce the use of water required by traditional methods by tenfold and contribute to the reduction of CO2 emission while also combating wealth inequality. Finally, the last area was waste management. Panama is encouraged to set up a waste management system. The government needs to raise the population awareness of waste through workshop and marketing campaigns. The first aim of these workshops will be reducing the amount of organic waste generated by teaching how to repurpose waste and cook with scraps. The second aim is to make citizens understand that the organic waste has a value and can still be used to fill some needs, like generation of biogas. By changing its food system, Panama can increase the nutritional level of its population and decrease the number of inequalities, moving towards a greener and more resilient city.
Now, it is no surprise that the world is calling out for ethical, responsible, and accountable leaders, given the environmental threats we face today. One example being the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, as previously mentioned. We can clearly see a framework, set of guiding ethics, tools must be applied and implemented, particularly within our global industries that are lacking true safety systems that would promote and apply responsible use of resources. If we are to build ourselves a sustainable future, we must restore the natural processes rather than disrupt other organisms and our ability to live on Earth. In one of our classes entitled Global Issues and taught by our mentor from the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, Jonas Hartl, the cohort took on the task of simulating the executive positions of some of the world's most powerful industry leaders. We take the case study of ArcelorMittal as an example for ways in which responsible leadership, digital transformation, and climate action coincide. In pursuit of compliance with the Paris Agreement adopted by world leaders in December of 2015, more than half of the world's largest companies publicly currently find themselves supporting the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, otherwise known as TCFD, or report within their recommended guidelines. We use the presentation of ArcelorMittal strategies for achieving a 1.5 and 3 degree scenario future as an example of an organization taking accountability for not only their impact on the local scale of their home, but also on the global scale of our home. Nearly all of the coal used in the steelmaking process ends up in our atmosphere as greenhouse gases, which makes the processes highly carbon intensive and accounts for approximately 5% of global emissions. ArcelorMittal is the world's largest steel producer and is still heavily invested in the use of fossil fuels. Yet, despite this conundrum, the organization continuously explores technological advances that reduce their environmental impact of steel production. Through this case study, though, it became evident that even the most sustainable options are at times left on the sidelines due to policy dependency. An example of mitigation would be green border adjustments that disable the competitive disadvantage of low emission technologies that are competing with high emission imports. Based off the recommendations of TCFD reporting, the Climate Action Report of ArcelorMittal released in 2019 highlights and brings awareness to these areas of impediment. It is quintessential we note not only the solutions, but also the obstacles that currently stand in the way of our vision of a sustainable world. After all, at the root of a truly responsible leader, pursuit of profits must not be at the expense of our people or our planet.
After looking at 3 of the many projects our cohort is involved in with a focus on social, environmental, and economic impact, it is evident that we emphasize the importance of incorporating all 3 dimensions. Whether taking personal daily actions or responsibly managing larger projects, the members of the MSIM program couple our individual and shared visions with action to show our commitment to a sustainable world.
Do you remember where we started? That deep breath of fresh air and how it soon developed into anxiety, a shared concern for our home. From there, we turned this anxiety into a need to develop yourself, to be able to do something. We inspired you to be a responsible leader and gave you the tools to become the best and unique version of yourself, embracing the golden rule in all you do. We showed you that things are happening right now as we speak. People indeed are hard at work on developing our home towards something we can be proud of. The world is changing, but not fast enough. We need you, all of you, because the chaos is still here and many are struggling and suffering. Because the cases we can show are just simply too few. We need your help, all of us, on this journey from chaos to interconnectedness, the same journey you just had. So how do you feel now? Can you feel the power you have to help sustain our planet, the life on our planet? Do you see the endless opportunities we have on how we can create solutions and activities that balance the social and environmental thresholds for a thriving society and planet? This is our home, and we love our home. We know you love home as well. Climate action, digitalization, and responsible leaders will sustain our world. You, we, all of us will sustain our world. So again, stand up tall, take a moment, feel it, feel the connectedness. Take a breath, knowing this is only one of many. And yes, we know you're thinking it, so we'll just come out and say it. We, the MSIM class, are a bit selfish. We don't want a sustainable world once we are long gone. Think of all the cool things to come. We want to experience it. So we encourage you to be selfish as well, to want to experience all a sustainable world would have to offer to all of us. So let's move from chaos to interconnectivity and enjoy a sustainable world, not 100 years from now, but during our lifetime. And now it is your turn to make this your story. Turn leadership challenges in our changing planet into inspirational examples for a sustainable future. This is your story. Tell it, live it, enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. I'm checking the chat now for questions. It looks like we don't have any questions in the chat, so I'm opening up the room for any questions from anyone, whether you want to drop them in the chat or speak out. Okay, so
Logan, it's Dr. Young. I'm going to speak out and just tell you what a beautiful job you all did. Wow. When I think about everybody coming in the fall with all of our differences and things, and look at this work you've done and how you gathered some of the learning across the semesters. I mean, I would put you in, I wish you were a documentary, like we could make you a documentary. So thank you so much. And thank you for the honor to be able to be with you and work with you all on being responsible leaders.
Thank you for those kind words. And of course, we truly appreciate the support we've had from you and the faculty at Franklin to get us to this point in our degree and moving forward. I do see some questions.
There's a question.
Yes. Okay, where will the presentation be sent to? Maybe.
So I will make sure that I share the presentation. If you guys share the final presentation with me, I have the recording also, but I think it's simpler. I will work with Tara and the alumni office to make sure we can share the whole recording, but I think it would be great if we could also, we'll share the recording and the presentation. So that, keep an eye out for that. We'll make sure that we'll share a link. I'm not going to send you a gigantic file, but yeah. And I know Lewis, who is a senior, has a question for you in that chat.
Yes, I see that. How did you calculate that we produce enough food for 10 billion people? What does each person receive as food per day? Can our food experts jump in for something?
I can maybe quickly answer to the source. Luckily, we did not have to calculate this on our own. We relied here on trusted expert, and that's the FAO from the Food and Agriculture Organization, connected also to the United Nations, which made this calculation roughly 8-9 years ago in one of their publications. That's maybe what I can say from my part. I know we have some more food experts here in this channel. Maybe you can add some knowledge here.
Yeah, I think that's great. Of course, we have experts at our back to provide us with a lot of this knowledge that we use for our work. Any other questions? Feel free to speak out or drop them in the chat.
I have a quick question. Oh.
Yes.
There are no questions. Any other questions?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question. So I'm wondering what, sorry, I think this is really exciting, and I'm interested to hear, what are you soon to be graduates of the MSIM program? How are you going to put this into effect in your own lives coming soon? I'm just interested to hear. I know that's kind of a personal question for a public venue, but if anyone feels comfortable sharing some of the things you'll be doing, I'd be really happy to know.
maybe we can get Aaliyah to answer that with some of the work that she's been doing.
Yeah,
Aaliyah?
sure. I am planning on hopefully becoming a project manager in the future. I'm really interested in doing work, especially in relation to online and internet safety, especially for children, and the prevention of online sex trafficking. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to do. I know everyone here has different things that they're very passionate about, different topics that are kind of their passion projects. And we'll definitely be going in and being change makers all in their own industries and in their own ways.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, this is just so exciting. I think sometimes we lose sight of the practical application afterwards. It's really wonderful to hear. So if anyone else wants to share as well before we kind of maybe round up and end. And I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
I can share really quick. So some of us other grad students are part of a founding organization called Oikos International. And so we're taking the teachings that we have and implementing them into developing a chapter of Oikos International here in Lugano. And Oikos focuses on incorporating sustainable management and economics into academic endeavors and into just the general academic atmosphere. And so we're starting as a student club, and it'll be a nonprofit that focuses on bringing in speakers and engaging with young people in the college age and finding them opportunities and networks to grow as well.
That sounds wonderful. And this sounds like a great opportunity. I don't know, Louis, if you're still on, but for our undergrads who are interested in this, in climate change and the environment and sustainability and social justice, I think this is a real great opportunity that I'm going to work on before you all leave to make a connection between the MSIM and the undergraduate program. So stay tuned. You're going to hear more from me.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. We're always looking for new team members.
All right. So any other questions before we kind of wrap up?
We do have a question in the chat. It is coming from Jonas. Are you envisioning that some of you will continue working on the projects you developed, perhaps even in the teams moving forward? And I think, Michael, you mentioned with Oikos that this is planned to live beyond our graduation. And there's probably some supervising and mentorship that will be provided for that. I know there are quite a few other projects that will either continue moving forward post-graduation, or at least the learnings will be taken forward for future projects as well.
Yeah, Logan, actually, based off of the project that I did with Aaliyah and Sada and James in the beginning of last semester, I'm taking my personal track of domestic violence, and I've got 2 projects that I'm currently trying to get going. One, a community garden based for and by women who are recovering from domestic violence situations, and another, I'm trying to launch my own personal panel discussions in the speaking of domestic violence and how it relates to AI technology, domestic violence within the sports world, as I have a personal interest in soccer here in Lugano, and then just domestic violence as itself. So I'm hoping to get those panel discussions started and get them traveling across the world.
And I can also just briefly share that from the whole responsible leadership part, we have a big project in the Nordics, incorporating all of the Nordic countries with very different leaders, both from the creative sector, business leaders, politicians, that are looking at, we're starting to call it hacking leadership. So really taking all of the learnings from all of this class and other learnings and really starting to rethink it, to bring more also into educational programs and better tools for leaders that are struggling with these issues. And one big thing there is that we're doing an inspiration that we've got from here is that we need an honest inventory on the things that are preventing us from moving forward. So some of the things that were mentioned here as well. And that's a difficult discussion, but it's a discussion that is very needed.
Maybe I have a little something to add to the question from Louis before, because I didn't hear any more answer to you. So we have that from the FAO, and maybe it's interesting to you because you asked how much food does each person in this world receive? And I can just post 2 links here, which maybe help you a little bit further, because you can see how much calories is a person using. If each person in the world would use that and that much calories, what influence that would have on these global limits that I was talking before. So I'm just going to share these 2 links here in the chat, and you can start to play around with it maybe after the presentation or even already now. So this is the first one where you really can play with these bars, and the second one is more about the country comparison from the OECD.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Appreciate that. So real quick, before I pass it off to Dean Sarah to close us out for the evening, we will also provide a link in the chat now to connect with each of us from this presentation on LinkedIn. So feel free to connect and to ask any further questions or share your vision of a sustainable world. We would love to chat with you all. Thank you.
Well, I can't thank you all enough. I can't think of a better way to have concluded our University Day. What a fabulous presentation. We're all so proud of you, and we can't wait to see the wonderful things that you do. And I hope everyone who's been listening will be inspired by the wonderful work of our MSIM students. Congratulations to you all, and thanks for the wonderful presentation. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.